Thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Whether you're in need of a website, domain, or online store, make your next move with Squarespace. So hello. In exciting news of life, this week I got keys to a studio in London which I'm sharing with one of my friends. And this is something which I never thought would ever really be possible. And it is by no means the most fancy or glamorous space, but it is all that I need to start making more photos. And this is particularly great right now because the UK is descending into just grey and rain, and it's really hard to shoot outside. So having this dedicated space to shoot indoors whenever I want, it's just a massive spike in productivity. And additionally, having to pay to have the space kind of forces me to be like, oh well, I need to make the most of it and always be taking photos. So yeah, it's fun. So far, 7 people have been shot in the studio, which isn't very bad going. The pace has been pretty good, and today I thought I'd share with you some of what I've been exploring and my thoughts about the images, and just some general chat and behind the scenes. In the future, I'm hoping to film a bunch of different stuff in here. I've got a load of different individual videos, but also series planned. So, new turn of the year, or even decade, there's plenty of fun content to be excited for. So 5 of the people who have taken portraits of so far have been test shoots of new models at my friend Ruben's agency called Contact. And this is kind of a mutual exchange where yourself and the model both gain experience and images for your portfolio. And I was mainly interested in doing this just to kind of test out the space, to see how much space there actually is, see what it feels like to take photos in there, just gain some experience before shooting anything important. And also, I'm pretty new to taking studio photos on film, and the more experience the better. There's a lot to play around with and learn, so the more you shoot, the better you get. So for all of the photos, I used an oatmeal kind of natural tan coloured backdrop. We've got a few different options in the studio, but this one, it seems to be the only one I want to use. And I know I've talked a lot recently about wanting warmth in my work, and I feel like this tan backdrop is almost like a cheat code to achieving that. And I guess it's just because it looks like a white backdrop that has golden light on it. So when it gets scanned in, it's not too hard to make it look like it was golden light. So for all of the photos, I was shooting on the RZ67 with Portra 160. And I like to shoot with 160 just because I'm using lighting anyway. I don't really need to pay extra for 400. There's a pretty big price difference in a pack of 5 at the moment in the UK. So 160 all day for me. And lens-wise, I've been using the 110 and the 65. And I'm still getting used to using the RZ, and particularly the 65mm. This is something I'd only actually shot with once before I moved into the studio. So for me, it's been really interesting just kind of doing some direct comparisons between the same subject with both lenses, just to see kind of how it distorts their faces and just renders different facial features. So for example, here's 2 photos which I took on the 65mm lens. And then compared to the 110, you can see just like the facial features are more elongated in the 65. It definitely has a wide angle look. And I wouldn't say it's to the point where it becomes unappealing, but it is something that you kind of have to be aware of. And I've got another example here. This is with the 65, and then this is with the 110. And you can just see it kind of compresses the face a little bit, and I don't know, I think for a lot of the time I prefer the 110, but to fit a full body portrait in the studio, I need to use the 65. Another thing that I was interested in trying out was the natural light in the studio. So the windows have kind of frosted glass, which gives this really nice diffusion. And we haven't had the best weather thus far through shooting, so I haven't really had prime golden hour coming through the window to shoot an example. But the first time sunlight was coming in whilst I was shooting, I was a bit worried that the natural light could look better than my strobe. And that was with these photos. So this is with the studio light, nice and even, and then here's with the natural light through the window. And I think the first big difference to me is that because I was shooting 160, my aperture had to be pretty shallow. And these are a bit too soft for my liking. But the light is nice. I think personally I do prefer the more kind of soft diffusion that the studio lighting gives. I think it is more appealing. But it's still like a really nice example to have, and even a nice option to have of being able to shoot natural light. I've got another example here. This is with the studio lighting. and then these three are with the natural lighting, and this was more kind of golden, I guess. And, you know, it works, but for me, I'm really much more excited to be shooting with the strobe than with the natural light, but it's a really nice option to have. And whilst we were shooting those photos, I actually got my friend Aria, who was helping out, to jump in and take a portrait of me, because I don't have any with a mullet, and I definitely don't have a shaved head anymore. So he took these two, and this one was with the studio lighting that I'd set up, and you can see, very nice, even, soft, looks great. Whereas this one was with the natural light coming through the window. And I think they're both nice. There is a pretty big shadow over here from the natural light, but I don't know. It looks fine to me. I like both options. Another interesting comparison that I did was between shooting with the Prism and the waist level finder. So this image was shot with the Prism, and this one was with the waist level finder. And I think it's a pretty big difference, even though it's kind of the same composition. Just the angle you get of the subject really makes a difference on, I don't know, their facial features. I think shooting with the Prism always allows for a much more defined jawline, and often shooting from underneath, like you do with the waist level finder, leads to the subject looking worse. And I think often shooting with the waist level finder is less flattering. I don't think many people would prefer to be photographed from underneath. I think there's a general consensus that kind of flat on, eye level, or from slightly above is more flattering. So yeah, this was interesting. I don't plan on using the waist level finder really anytime soon. So we've actually shot one video in the studio which is going to come out pretty soon, which is really exciting, of a new series. And I'm just going to show you one photo from it because, I don't know, bit of a tease, but also it's a segue to something else. But basically, I bought £7 worth of tinfoil and we made a backdrop out of it, and it actually worked really well. So yeah, this is tinfoil backdrop, like a spaceship, I don't know. I think it came out really cool. And the reason why I wanted to share that with you is because there's a hilarious behind the scenes of a photo which I took afterwards. So because we had a bunch of tinfoil left over, I thought I'd better find a way to use it. So whilst I was taking portraits of one of the models, I asked Yoto if he'd be comfortable wearing some tinfoil around his head. It just looks ridiculous. It looks so funny. I'm very thankful that he was up for trying it, but you have to admit, it looks pretty stupid. I told him when we were taking the photos, this is either going to be outright awful or really nice. There's not going to be an in-between. It's either going to look silly or cool. And the resulting photo, I think, came out really awesome. There's something really cinematic about it. I think it's the out of focus tinfoil areas kind of went a bit teal, and the skin managed to be a bit orange, and it's given this super cinematic look. I don't know, I just thought it was really worth sharing that sometimes like photos come out of the smallest bit of inspiration or stupidest idea can make something which you'd never kind of expect. Which leads me on to talking about an idea for a series I have that I would propose to you now to see if you're interested. So I thought it'd be interesting to get, whether it's myself or another photographer, and just do this kind of like on the moment shoot. So the idea is I drop them off at a store. Maybe it's like a home DIY store, and you're given, say, 15 minutes and a budget. I don't know how much it will be yet. For example, £50. And you're allowed to buy whatever you want for that money. And what you have to do is then come back to the studio and do a portrait session inspired by something you've bought, whether it's using it as a motif or building a set. And I just think it would be a really cool idea to have this kind of, I don't know, I think it could be a super inspiring thing to watch, a super creative thing, and a really good exercise just to shoot. I don't know. I think this would be fun. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you have any ideas for series you'd like to see. I've got quite a few ideas myself. We're already filming one of them. Yeah. Got a studio, it's fun. So there's a couple of videos coming out before the new year, but this is the last one I'm recording before the new year, so hope you have a good Christmas if you celebrate it, and look forward to many new things in the new, not only year, but decade. So, yeah, finally, a word from our sponsor. Ho, 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 it's me, Santa, here to give you the Christmas gift of a brand new website. Have you been looking to build a new website, maybe start a blog, an online store, or simply purchase a domain? You could do all of this with Squarespace. It's never been so easy to build a professional looking website. There's a bunch of different themes to get you started, and everything is so simple to do. You definitely don't need any prior experience. Having a website to display your photography is pretty essential. You need to get your work out there and be seen, and having a great portfolio is one of the best ways to do so. So, what are you waiting for? Have my Christmas gift of 10% off your order using the code negative feedback and sign up now for a shiny new website with Squarespace.